My mother demands I trade my downtown apartment with my brother because his fiancée needs it for marketing brunches. She works remotely. Hi everyone. Today's story will blow your mind, but really quick, if you enjoy this content, hit that subscribe button. Channel's been a bit quiet lately, and your support keeps it all going. Let's jump in. Original post. I never imagined I'd be one of those people sharing family drama with strangers on the internet, but here I am, sitting in my tiny downtown apartment at 2 a.m., unable to sleep because of what happened at dinner tonight. I need outside perspective because I'm genuinely starting to question my own sanity. I'm 29 years old and work as a lab technician at a major research hospital downtown. It's not a glamorous job by any means. I spend my days processing blood samples, running diagnostic tests, and managing specimen inventories. But it's stable, it pays decently, and most importantly, I genuinely love what I do. There's something deeply satisfying about being part of the diagnostic process, knowing that my careful work helps doctors make critical decisions about patient care. 3 years ago, after living with roommates since college and saving every penny I could, I finally found my dream apartment. Well, dream might be overselling it. It's a one-bedroom unit in a converted 1920s building that's seen better days. The radiator sounds like someone's constantly hammering on the pipes, the kitchen is so narrow that two people can't pass each other, and the bathroom tile is that peculiar shade of pink that was apparently mandatory in old buildings. But it has character. Original hardwood floors, tall windows that actually open, and most importantly, it's mine. All mine. The location is what makes it truly special. I'm a 15-minute walk from the hospital, which means I can leave my apartment at 6:45 a.m. for my 7 a.m. shift. In a city where most people spend an hour or more commuting, this is pure gold. On particularly brutal days when I've been on my feet for 12 hours straight, knowing I only have to walk 15 minutes to collapse into my own bed is the only thing that keeps me going. My younger brother is 24 and works in IT for a suburban tech company. Last year, he got engaged to his girlfriend of 2 years. She's lovely, works in marketing for a startup that went fully remote during the pandemic and never went back. They currently rent a studio apartment in the suburbs, about 45 minutes outside the city by train. It's in one of those new complexes with amenities I could only dream of: gym, pool, in-unit laundry, parking garage, the works. The kind of place where the walls are actually soundproof and the appliances were manufactured in this decade. Tonight's family dinner was supposed to be a regular Sunday gathering. My mother had been particularly insistent that I attend, even though I'd worked a double shift yesterday and desperately needed to catch up on sleep. Family time is important, she'd said on the phone. You work too much. When was the last time you had a proper home-cooked meal? She wasn't wrong about that last part. My diet lately had consisted mainly of hospital cafeteria food and whatever I could grab from the corner bodega. So I dragged myself to my childhood home, looking forward to her pot roast and maybe some mundane family gossip. The first sign something was off was the table setting. My mother had used the good china, the set that only comes out for Christmas and Easter. The second was that my father kept avoiding eye contact, focusing intently on his plate like it held the secrets of the universe. My brother sat next to his fiancée, who seemed genuinely confused about the formal atmosphere. After we'd finished the main course, during which my mother kept refilling my wine glass despite my protests about having an early shift tomorrow, she clinked her fork against her glass like she was about to give a wedding toast. I wanted to bring the family together tonight to discuss something important, she began, using what I call her announcement voice, the one she used when telling us about grandma's cancer or when Dad got laid off. As you all know, family means everything to me. We support each other, we sacrifice for each other, and we ensure everyone has the best chance at happiness and success. My stomach started to sink. Nothing good ever followed that kind of preamble. Your brother and his fiancée are starting their lives together, she continued, gesturing toward them like they were exhibition pieces. Marriage is a sacred bond, and it's our duty as family to ensure they begin this journey with every advantage possible. The fiancée, let's call her S, looked increasingly uncomfortable, shifting in her seat and shooting confused glances at my brother. After much consideration and family discussion, my mother said, and I noticed she carefully avoided saying which family members were part of this discussion, we've come up with a solution that benefits everyone. You're going to swap apartments with your brother. The words hung in the air like a bad smell. I actually laughed, thinking it was some kind of bizarre joke. But nobody else was laughing. I'm sorry, what? I managed to say, setting down my wine glass before I dropped it. My mother's smile was patient, condescending, like she was explaining something to a particularly slow child. It makes perfect sense, dear. S works in marketing. She needs to be downtown for networking events, client dinners, industry mixers. These connections are crucial for her career advancement. You just work in a lab. You could work at any hospital. The suburban location even has several medical facilities nearby. The casual dismissal of my job, just work in a lab, stung more than I expected. I tried to stay calm, to be logical. Mom, I have to be on site at my specific hospital. I'm handling time-sensitive specimens that can't leave the facility. I'm part of ongoing research studies. I can't just transfer to another hospital like I'm working retail. She waved her hand dismissively. You're being dramatic. Plenty of healthcare workers commute from the suburbs. My friend Linda's daughter is a nurse and she drives an hour each way every day. It builds character and gives you time to think. But S works remotely, I pointed out, trying to keep my voice level. She doesn't need to commute at all. She could work from anywhere. That's when my brother finally spoke up. Remote work isn't just about sitting at a computer, he said, and I could tell he was reciting something that had been rehearsed. It's about being connected to the industry. S needs to be where things are happening, where she can attend last-minute events, where she can grab coffee with potential clients. The suburbs don't offer those opportunities. S looked like she wanted to sink into the floor. When she started to speak, my mother cut her off. The decision has been made, she announced. We've already looked into the logistics. The lease transfers shouldn't be too complicated since you're both renting. You can move next month, giving everyone time to prepare. The decision has been made. I repeated, incredulous. By whom? When? Nobody asked me anything. We discussed it as a family, my mother said firmly. Your father, your aunt, your uncle, everyone agrees this is what's best. I looked at my father, who was still studying his plate like he was preparing for an exam on its contents. Dad, I prompted. He cleared his throat. Your mother has some good points, he mumbled, which was his standard response when he didn't want to get involved in an argument. This is insane, I said, my voice rising despite my efforts to stay calm. You're asking me to triple my commute time for someone who doesn't even need to commute. You're asking me to give up the apartment I've worked years to afford, in the location I specifically chose for my job, so that S can possibly attend some networking events that may or may not exist. Don't be selfish, my mother snapped, her patient demeanor cracking. Your brother is getting married. Don't you want his marriage to start off on the right foot? Don't you want S to feel welcomed into this family? Of course I do, I said, looking at S, who looked miserable. But how does forcing me to give up my apartment make her feel welcome? How is this even about her? A good location is important for young professionals, my mother insisted. You're single, you don't understand the pressures of maintaining a career while building a marriage. The city offers culture, sophistication, opportunities. What does S tell her colleagues when they want to meet for drinks after work? That she has to catch a 45-minute train to the suburbs. She tells them she works remotely and suggests a video call? I offered, my sarcasm finally breaking through. The dinner deteriorated from there. My mother called me selfish and unsupportive. My aunt, who had apparently been listening from the kitchen, came in to add her 2 cents about how family makes sacrifices, and how she'd given up her dream of becoming an artist to help with the family business, a story that changes every time she tells it. My brother accused me of being jealous of his engagement, of not wanting him to be happy. When I asked him directly if S had actually requested this apartment swap, he couldn't give me a straight answer, just kept repeating that it would be nice for her to have options. S finally managed to speak up, saying, I really don't need, but my mother interrupted again, saying this wasn't the time to be polite, that family was offering a gift and she should accept it graciously. I left before dessert, claiming a migraine, not entirely a lie. My head was pounding from the stress and the wine. As I walked to my car, S followed me out. I didn't know about any of this, she said quietly. I mentioned once, maybe 2 months ago, that it might be nice to live downtown someday. Like, in the future. When we could afford it. I never asked for your apartment. I don't even want your apartment. No offense. None taken, I said, believing her. S had always been straightforward and kind. This manipulative maneuvering wasn't her style. I'll talk to him, she promised. This is crazy. But by the time I got home, the family group chat had exploded. My mother had posted a long message about being heartbroken by my selfishness, and how she'd never raised me to be so cold-hearted. My brother added that I was choosing an apartment over family, and that he'd always supported me but couldn't support this. Always supported me? When I was working 3 jobs to pay for college while he lived at home rent-free. When I was denied family help for my apartment deposit because you need to learn independence, while his car down payment was covered because men need reliable transportation. The revisionist history was almost more insulting than the apartment demand. By midnight, I'd received 6 text messages from various relatives about reconsidering my position, 3 missed calls from my mother, 2 emails, 1 from my brother with links to suburban medical facilities that were just as good as my hospital, and 1 from my aunt with articles about the importance of family unity, multiple Facebook notifications where my mother had posted vague but pointed status updates about children who forget their roots, and the pain of raising ungrateful kids. The thing is, I'm now lying here second-guessing everything. Am I being selfish? Is a 15-minute commute really worth destroying family relationships? Should I just agree to this insane swap to keep the peace? But then I think about my job. Last week, I had to rush to the lab at 3 a.m. because a batch of critical specimens arrived from a medical emergency. If I lived in the suburbs, that would have taken me 2 hours instead of 20 minutes. Those specimens were time-sensitive. Every minute mattered for the patient's diagnosis and treatment. I think about my life here. The coffee shop on the corner where I study for my certification exams. The elderly neighbor who I help with groceries and who waters my plants when I work doubles. The running path along the river where I decompress after particularly hard shifts. The sense of community I've built in 3 years. And I think about the principle of it all. My family made a decision about my life without consulting me, presented it as final, and are now punishing me for not immediately complying. If I give in now, what's next? Will they decide who I should date? Where I should work? How I should spend my money? Tomorrow is Monday. I have a 7 a.m. shift, which means I need to be up at 6:15. From the suburban studio, I'd need to be up at 4:45 to make the same shift. That's assuming no train delays, no weather issues, no problems with the connection. I don't know what to do. Part of me wants to just give in, to make this all go away. Part of me wants to stand firm. And part of me wants to disappear entirely, to just ghost the whole family and start fresh somewhere where people don't think they own your life choices. Has anyone dealt with something similar? Am I being unreasonable? How do you stand up to family without destroying everything? Because right now, I feel like no matter what I choose, I lose. Update 1, 5 days later. Thank you to everyone who responded to my original post. I read every single comment, even the ones calling me dramatic, though I respectfully disagree. This is dramatic because my family made it dramatic. Your perspectives gave me the strength I needed for what happened this week. Monday morning, I went to work exhausted, having barely slept after writing that post. I must have looked terrible because my supervisor, Dr. Chen, pulled me aside after our morning briefing. "Is everything okay?" she asked. "You seem distracted, and that's not like you." Dr. Chen and I have worked together for 3 years, but we've kept things professional. She knows I'm reliable, thorough, and dedicated, but we don't really discuss personal matters. Something about her genuine concern, though, made me crack. "It's a family thing," I said, trying to brush it off. "Family things have a way of affecting work things," she replied. "If you need to talk, my door is open." During my lunch break, I took her up on that offer. I explained the situation, trying to keep it brief and professional, but the whole story came tumbling out. The ambush dinner, the apartment swap demand, the family pile-on, everything. Her expression went through several changes as I talked. By the end, she was shaking her head with a rueful smile. "Can I tell you a story?" she asked. 15 years ago, when she was completing her residency, her family decided she should give her savings, earmarked for a house down payment, to her younger brother for a can't-miss business opportunity. Their reasoning was eerily familiar. She was single, he had a family, she had a good career ahead of her while he needed this chance. Family supports family. "The pressure was immense," she said. "My mother cried. My father said I was dishonoring the family. My siblings said I was selfish. They held a family meeting where they voted on what I should do with my own money. Money I'd saved by working 100-hour weeks, living on ramen, driving a car that barely functioned. What did you do?" I asked. I said no. And for 6 months, they acted like I'd committed murder. Every family event was Arctic. Every conversation was laden with guilt. My mother told everyone who would listen that I'd chosen money over blood. And then, my brother's business failed in 4 months. He'd had no business plan, no experience, just enthusiasm and the certainty that family money would save him. Meanwhile, I bought my house, which has tripled in value. But more importantly, I learned that the first boundary is the hardest. Once you set it, once you survive the extinction burst of their anger, they learn that you can't be manipulated anymore. She taught me the term extinction burst, when someone increases their negative behavior because their usual tactics aren't working, like a child screaming louder when their tantrum doesn't get them candy. Your family is in extinction burst mode right now. They're pulling out every weapon because they can't believe their usual guilt tactics aren't working. Then she did something unexpected. She offered to help me practice responses. For the next hour, she role-played different family members while I practiced staying calm and firm. She was brutal, channeling every guilt trip, every manipulation, every emotional button push my family might use. When she pretended to be my mother saying, "I sacrificed everything for you children," I learned to respond, "I'm grateful for everything you've done. That doesn't mean you get to make my adult decisions for me." When she played my brother saying, "You obviously don't want me to be happy," I practiced saying, "Your happiness isn't dependent on my apartment. If it is, we have bigger problems to discuss." She helped me craft a key phrase, "I understand you disagree with my decision, but it's not up for debate. My housing situation is my choice alone." "The key," she said, "is to be boring. Don't justify, argue, defend, or explain. They call it jade. Every reason you give them is just another point they can argue. Be a broken record. Be dull. Give them nothing to grab onto." Before I left her office, she said something that resonated deeply. "You know what your job requires. You've organized your life to be excellent at that job. Don't let anyone convince you that your career, your choices, and your needs matter less because they're not as Instagram-worthy as marketing brunches that probably don't even exist." That evening, emboldened by our conversation, I did something petty but satisfying. I created a spreadsheet. Current situation. Rent, $1,400 per month. Transportation, $0. Walking, commute time, 15 minutes each way, 30 minutes daily. Monthly commute hours, 10 times called for emergency/after-hours work in past year. 47 average response time to emergency calls, 20 minutes. Suburban studio situation. Rent, $1,100 per month. Train pass, $240 per month. Gas to train station, $80 per month. Parking at station, $50 per month. Commute time, 1.5 hours each way, 3 hours daily. Monthly commute hours, 66 projected response time to emergency calls, 2+ hours. Additional costs, wear on car, parking in city for any evening events. Net monthly savings, -$70 lost time per month, 56 hours. I sent this to the family group chat with a message, for those interested in facts rather than feelings. My mother responded within minutes, "Not everything is about money. Family is about sacrifice." I replied, "Exactly. I'm not willing to sacrifice patient care for someone's hypothetical networking events." My brother jumped in, "Wow, so now you're saying S's career doesn't matter?" "I'm saying her remote career doesn't require my apartment. My on-site career requires my location." The chat went quiet after that, but the private messages started. From my aunt, "Your mother is crying." My response, "I'm sorry she's upset. My decision stands." From my cousin, "Just give them the apartment and keep the peace." My response, "Would you give up your house if the family voted on it?" From my brother, "You're being *tch about this." My response, "I'm being firm about this. There's a difference." The only supportive message came from an unexpected source, my grandmother, who rarely texts but managed to send, "Good for you. Your mother pulled same thing with me in 1973. Stand strong." I'd love to know what happened in 1973, but that's a mystery for another day. Wednesday night, S called me privately. She sounded upset. "I had no idea any of this was happening," she said. "Your mother cornered me at lunch yesterday and tried to convince me to talk sense into you. I told her I never asked for your apartment and don't want it. She said I was being too polite and needed to think about my career." "My mother met you for lunch?" I asked, stunned. "She invited herself to my office. Showed up with takeout and a PowerPoint about downtown networking opportunities. An actual PowerPoint. With slides about synergistic career advancement and urban professional development." I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. She made a PowerPoint with animations and clip art. It was something. S told me she was reconsidering the wedding if my brother couldn't stand up to his mother. "I can't marry into a family where I'm used as a weapon against you. Where my career is used as an excuse for insane demands. Where my husband won't defend either of us." I felt bad for her. She'd been dragged into this mess without her consent, used as a pawn in my mother's control game. The cousin's birthday party is this Saturday. The family expects me to attend. I've decided I will, armed with my practiced responses and a clear exit strategy. Dr. Chen advised me to arrive exactly on time, not early enough for prep ambush, stay visible but mobile, and leave after exactly 1 hour. "Make it boring for them," she reminded me. "Every dramatic accusation gets a bland response. Every guilt trip gets redirected. Be pleasant but immovable." I'm ready. Or at least, I'm pretending to be ready. The apartment stays mine. My boundaries stay firm. And if the family can't accept that, then I'll know where I really stand. Update 2, following week. The birthday party was a revelation, though not in the way anyone expected. I arrived at exactly 2 p.m., gift in hand, practiced phrases ready. I'd worn professional clothes, Dr. Chen's suggestion to dress like someone whose time is valuable, and kept my phone visible so I could check the time, obviously. The first thing I noticed was that S wasn't there. When I asked my brother where she was, he mumbled something about a work emergency. On a Saturday. For a remote job. Right. My mother immediately tried to corner me, but I kept moving, helping set up chairs, refilling chip bowls, always busy, always pleasant, never stationary. It was almost comical watching her try to pin me down for a lecture while I cheerfully flitted from task to task. About 30 minutes in, my aunt attempted her approach while I was cutting the birthday cake. "Your mother is devastated," she said, using her best guilt trip voice. "She only wants what's best for everyone." "I want what's best for everyone too," I replied calmly, continuing to cut precise slices. "Which is why I'm keeping the apartment that allows me to do my job effectively." "But think about your brother's wedding," she pressed. "Don't you want his bride to be happy?" This was my opening. Has anyone actually asked S what would make her happy? Because she's not even here to speak for herself. "She had to work," my aunt said defensively. "On a Saturday? For a remote position? That's interesting." When I spoke to her Wednesday, she didn't mention any weekend work. The room had gone quiet. My younger cousin, the birthday girl, actually, suddenly spoke up. "You know what's weird," she said. "We're planning someone's entire living situation when they're not even here. It's like when Mom tried to change my college major without telling me." My aunt went red. "That was different." "Was it?" my cousin pressed. "You literally called my advisor and tried to switch me from engineering to teaching because you thought engineering wasn't appropriate for girls." This opened floodgates I didn't expect. Another cousin mentioned how the family had tried to pressure her to break up with her now husband because he was just a carpenter. An uncle's wife quietly shared how she'd been expected to quit her job after marriage despite out-earning her husband. Suddenly, my apartment situation was just one piece in a pattern of the family matriarchs deciding everyone's lives without consultation. My mother tried to regain control. "This is completely different. We're trying to help." "Help who?" I asked directly. "Did S ask for this help? Did my brother? Or did you decide they needed help and create this entire situation?" The silence stretched uncomfortable long before my brother finally admitted the truth. "She mentioned once that it might be nice to live downtown someday. Like, in passing. Mom ran with it. So you created this entire drama, damaged multiple relationships, and stressed everyone out over an offhand comment?" I asked my mother. She got defensive. "I'm being proactive. S clearly wants to be downtown for her career advancement." "What career advancement?" I pressed. "What specific opportunities has she missed? Name one networking event she couldn't attend. One client dinner she had to decline. One professional connection she lost because of her location." My mother's mouth opened and closed like a fish. She couldn't name a single instance. That's when my grandmother, who had been quietly knitting in the corner, spoke up. "In 1973, she said, and everyone turned to look at her, "your mother tried to make me give my apartment to your uncle because his wife needed it more. Said I was old, alone, didn't need the space or location. I told her to mind her own business." My mother looked stunned. "That was different, Mom. You were being stubborn." "I was keeping what was mine," my grandmother corrected. "Just like she is." She nodded at me. "Good to see someone in this family has sense." The party dispersed pretty quickly after that. Nobody wanted to deal with the uncomfortable truths that had been exposed. As I was leaving, my cousin, the birthday girl, hugged me. "Thank you," she whispered. "Maybe now they'll think twice before planning our lives for us." Final update, 3 months later. I wanted to provide a final update because the resolution surprised everyone, including me. About a month after the birthday party disaster, I received a call from an unknown number. It was S. "Can we meet?" she asked. "Just us. I need to apologize and explain." We met at a coffee shop near my apartment. S looked exhausted but determined. "I need you to know," she began immediately, "that I never asked for your apartment. I never wanted it. I found out about this whole scheme 2 weeks ago when your brother finally told me why you'd been distant at family gatherings." She explained that my brother had been telling her I was dealing with work stress to explain the family tension. It wasn't until she directly confronted my mother about the obvious awkwardness that the truth came out, though heavily edited to make me seem selfish and difficult. When I learned what really happened, I was horrified, S continued. I told your brother we needed to postpone the wedding until he could prove he could stand up to his mother. I can't marry someone who would throw both of us under the bus to avoid confrontation. She'd given him an ultimatum: couples counseling and clear boundaries with family, or they were done. He chose counseling, she said with a small smile. It's been illuminating. He's starting to understand how messed up the family dynamics are. Then she asked me something unexpected. Would you help us apartment hunt? You know the city, and honestly, you're the only one in the family I trust to give honest advice without ulterior motives. I agreed, partly out of curiosity and partly because I felt bad for her being caught in my mother's manipulation. Over the next month, I spent 4 Saturdays showing them around different neighborhoods. S had done her homework, spreadsheets of budgets, commute times for potential future office visits, neighborhood amenities that actually mattered to them, grocery stores, parks, quiet streets, rather than imaginary networking venues. We found them a perfect 1-bedroom in an up-and-coming neighborhood. It's on a direct train line to downtown, 30 minutes if she ever needs to go to the office, but far enough out that they could afford it comfortably. The building has a rooftop garden where S immediately envisioned hosting small gatherings. The wedding happened last weekend. They'd scaled down significantly, only 50 guests in the rooftop garden of their new building. S asked me to be a bridesmaid, which shocked everyone, especially my mother. During the reception, S gave a speech that included, "I want to thank my new sister-in-law, who taught us that starting a marriage with integrity matters more than starting it with amenities. She showed us that boundaries aren't walls, they're the framework for healthy relationships. Thanks to her, we're beginning our marriage in our own space, chosen for our own reasons, free from anyone else's expectations." My brother also spoke, and for the first time in our adult lives, I was proud of him. I've learned a lot in the past few months about the difference between keeping peace and enabling dysfunction. I chose to get help to break toxic patterns, and I'm grateful to my sister for standing firm when the rest of us were willing to fold. She saved my relationship and probably my future marriage by refusing to participate in the manipulation. My mother sat through both speeches looking uncomfortable but, surprisingly, said nothing negative. The counseling had included some family sessions where the therapist had apparently been quite direct about the inappropriate boundaries and manipulation tactics. After the wedding, my mother approached me. I braced for impact, but she surprised me. "I owe you an apology," she said stiffly, clearly rehearsed but genuine. The therapist helped me understand that I was projecting my own desires onto S and using you as a means to fulfill them. That wasn't fair. It wasn't a perfect apology, but it was a start. The best part? S and I have become genuine friends. We meet for monthly brunches, yes, actual brunches, the irony is delicious, where we talk about everything except family drama. Last week, she texted me a photo from their rooftop garden with the caption, "Our own little oasis. Thanks for helping us find what we actually needed, not what others thought we should want." My brother has maintained his boundaries with our mother. He uses phrases like, "Thanks for your input, Mom, but we've got this handled," and "We appreciate your concern, but this is our decision." She's still adjusting, but she's learning that respecting boundaries is the price of admission to our lives. As for my apartment, I'm still here. Still walking 15 minutes to work. The radiator still sounds possessed, the kitchen is still tiny, and the bathroom tiles are still that aggressive pink. But it's mine, and everyone now knows it's not up for negotiation. Last week, there was an emergency at the hospital, a major accident with multiple critical specimens needing immediate processing. I was there in 12 minutes. As I worked through the night, helping process samples that would guide life-saving treatments, I thought about how different it would have been if I'd caved to the pressure. Those extra 90 minutes of commute time could have literally cost lives. Dr. Chen was right about boundaries being like muscles. The first time you use them, everything hurts. But each time gets easier, and eventually, people learn not to test them. To everyone who told me to stand my ground, thank you. Your validation and advice made all the difference. To anyone facing similar pressure, your needs matter. Your career matters. Your choices matter. You matter. Don't let anyone convince you otherwise, no matter how many PowerPoints they make or tears they cry. The family dynamics aren't perfect now, but they're honest. And that's better than a false peace built on one person's constant sacrifice. Sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's living your life on your own terms and watching everyone else realize the world doesn't end when you say no. In fact, sometimes it gets better.